Hey everyone, this is Madison here with Expedition Alpine. We are about 2.5 weeks out from our Lost Coast Trail hike in Northern California, and I know that some of my followers have been asking, how do you meal plan? So I wanted to do a quick video today about how I do my meal plans for my trips, and this one's going to be a little bit different than usual because my husband's coming with me, so I actually have to pack twice as much food as normal. As many of my followers may know, if you're new here, I just figured I'd fill you in. I actually have an autoimmune condition called celiac disease, which requires me to eat entirely gluten-free. So my meal plan looks a little bit different than most people's hiking meal plans. For those of you who are also gluten-free, this is a great place to get some cool tips and ideas for food that you could also use on the trail. So let me show you what I'm doing. So when I first get my meal plans together, I kind of spread everything out on the floor and try to get it organized by day and by like what meal of the day we're having. So it's kind of a mess. I usually take up most of the room. And then the first thing I do is I lay out the breakfasts and the dinners for each of the days. So we're going to be getting in pretty late the first day and camping before we even get on trail. So we have to pack a dinner for that. We're not going to be near any restaurants as far as I'm aware. And then the next couple of days, we have permits for 4 days on the trail. So I'm hoping to be done in 3, but we have that extra day just in case. We do need to meal plan for that day, and then I'll probably have extra food stored in our car at the southern terminus when we get off the trail as well, just so we have some extra there and backup. So first and foremost, I have the 2 breakfasts every day and the 2 dinners every day, and I go all the way across for our whole trip. I did run out of breakfast, so I do have some oatmeal for that day, which is gluten-free. And then as far as our foods go, most of them are duplicates each day, but a couple of them are going to be different flavors just because I didn't have exact matching ones. All of these are going to be Heather's Choice dehydrated meals. I really like these, and they seem to be really good proportions in comparison to some of the other brands I've tried. Pretty much everything they have is gluten-free, and I've really liked their meals, especially their bison chili and the shepherd's pie. Those are 2 of my favorites, and I'm excited to share these with my husband because I don't think he's had any of them yet. The next step, I really like to get our lunches and then our snack food figured out for the whole week. The lunches here, I have quite a bit of extra food, so we usually do walking lunches or like just a brief break. We don't like to break out the stove for it, so I like to do a little bit of protein, something that is a carb, so some sort of crackers or bread-based item. I do like these fruit cups. I found that fruit cups were amazing on my kayaking trip, and I've started using them on camping trips. The downside is they are a lot of liquids, so they do tend to be a little bit heavier than other snack foods, but they are kind of a nice little treat. My husband has recently been doing a lot of these Kind granola bars. They don't have any oats in them. They're just nuts and like chocolate and sugar. And they've been pretty good, so we've squirreled a couple of those away for our trips here too. And then as far as snacks go, I have some of my trail mix, and we have honey stinger waffles, Quest protein cookies. These are really good. And then the Nature's Bakery fig bars. These are just some of my favorite items that I've eaten in the past. My husband picked up a few of these Honey Stinger energy chews too, but he told me they're just for him. So I made sure to pack them. They'll be for our busier days when we're going to need the energy. But this is kind of generally what we do for our lunches and our snacks for the day. So this will be our big lunch break during the day, and we'll try to get some protein and carbs in to refuel. And then these are snacks that we can eat while we're walking and moving around for the day. So then after I get everything kind of set aside, I decide what the final meals are going to look like. So in this case, I decided we had quite a bit of extra food we didn't need, and my husband and I are both pretty light on breakfasts, and these feed quite a bit, so we're going to share one of these, and then we're going to have some granola bars as well, and we're going to do that for breakfast every day. And then we have our lunch plans, our snacks, and then our dinners, and we do have a full dinner for each of us each night. So this is kind of what we do for our meal plans. You can see we have a good selection of snacks to walk around with during the day. We have a really good balanced meal for lunches that has the proteins and a little bit of sugar to re-energize us and the carbs to give us longer energy. And then one of the things I like to do is I like to bring a flex snack. So in this case, I have the trail mix, which has good sugars and good fats and good energy to keep you going through the day. And I also really like these. These are Noon tablets. It's kind of like a bit like a Powerade, and we'll just put these in one of our bottles for a little bit of electrolytes during the day. So I think this will be a really good layout for the trip. So this is what we'll have. So last thing I did is I double checked with my husband just to make sure he was kind of on board with what we were doing. He usually leaves this kind of stuff to me. We did move around some of the dinners so that they make more sense. We'll have something healthy leading up to the trip, but then some very protein heavy meals the first couple days when we're going to need those calories and that protein to rebuild the muscles we're burning. He also asked to put in an extra jerky stick every single day because he knows he's going to want that protein. He's going to want a little bit more calories than me, so we also are including those. The last issue at hand is the food storage. So for the Lost Coast Trail, they do require bear canisters. These are hard-sided containers that are bear resistant. Certain places have requirements about what brands you're allowed to use. I come from the Adirondacks, so your standard blue Bear Vault ones are usually not allowed. This one was allowed in the Adirondacks, and this will not be big enough for all this food. So I will actually be going into my workplace and renting one of the blue Bear Vault ones to be able to store all this food for us for the week. So that is another thing we just had to take into consideration, is how we're going to do the food storage. Bear hangs are pretty hard here. That is where you have a bear resistant bag and you hang it from a tree. The trees are just not really cut out from it. You're going to be camping along the beach. It's not going to be the right situation for it. And you could end up attracting bears to your food because of it. So they do really recommend these plastic hard-sided containers. The last thing I wanted to do was just go over some of the brands that we use. So I already mentioned the Heather's Choice dehydrated meals and the Kind bars. We do a lot of Chomps bars. These are usually beef sticks. This one is venison. We just found these at the store today. But they make several different flavors. These ones are an Italian flavor. They're one of my favorites. They also make like an original red one, which is a little bit more spicy. And they have like a jalapeno one and another one, I think, too. They also make a turkey one, but I wasn't a big fan of those. We do a lot of fruit cups. These are just standard generic brand. Sometimes we get Dole. Quest protein cookies. These are a great way to get extra protein in. There's 16 grams of protein in these cookies. And in like some of our dinners, these are 44 grams. So you're talking a little bit shy of half of one of these meals of protein in that cookie. We do a lot of honey stinger around here. We're definitely a honey stinger family. So these are those energy chews. They make a couple different flavors. And then the honey stinger waffles, which were one of my staples when I first had to go gluten-free. These were really good. I super love these. They're basically in my bag at work every day. I take them to the gym. We go hiking with them. Nature's Bakery. These are the fig bars. They make 4 different flavors gluten-free. The packaging looks really similar, so you just have to be careful that you're actually getting the gluten-free ones, but these are really good. The trail mix I make homemade. I get ocean spray cranberries, and then I buy the other ingredients for the nuts off of nuts.com, other dried fruits off of nuts.com, and I usually get Ghirardelli or Lindt dark chocolate bars. Noon tablets for energy and for electrolytes. And then I do have a couple of extra things over here. We have some Epic jerky. We haven't tried this yet, but it is gluten-free. These will probably get left in the car just so we have some meals, some snacks in the car. Heather's Choice also makes these. These are called Packaroons, and people really love these. So I have a bunch of their holiday flavors and a couple of the others here. But these are basically a coconut cookie, and they're super yummy, so those are a really good option. The crackers for our lunchtime is Simple Mills. These are kind of my splurge for the trip. They tend to be pretty expensive as far as gluten-free crackers go, but they're one of my favorites, so I really like this farmhouse cheddar one. And I think that's pretty much it for our snacks here. So that's everything. So I'll get it bagged up. I'll put them in big Ziploc baggies to divide them by meal by day, and then we'll get them put into that bear can. So a lot of people ask me about counting calories. Do you count your calories? Do you have a certain number you aim for? Like, how do you know that you're getting enough? In my case, it's really just from experience. Having done the kayak expedition this summer, I kind of know what I eat in a given day based off of the food. I did find myself eating a little bit more than average as I got towards the end of my trip, but it was pretty easy to move around some of the snacks and kind of just pack a little bit heavier than normal. For trips like this where I've been a little bit inactive leading up to it and then it's only going to be 4 days, Sometimes this is too much food, so we may end up with a little bit extra where you're having to kind of eat through it. That's kind of what happened to me on the Lost Coast or the Trans-Catalina Trail back in December, is I started to have a little bit extra snacks and I was pawning them off on like some of my friends that were hiking with me, or like I'd find people and be like, oh, do you want a snack? Like, I got this, here you go, you can have it. So that does happen. In this case, we're not going to have crazy elevation change. We're going to be walking along the beach. It is going to be a little bit more strenuous. They tell you to plan like 3 to 4 days for this 25 miles, which is a pretty slow pace, but it's a lot of gravel, a lot of boulders, like a lot of like ball bearing type stuff that you're walking on. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to make good time, but there's very, very, very little elevation change throughout this whole trip. So you're really not going to have crazy calorie burn. So in this case, I'm really not worried about the calories. This is just what I know works for me. So it'll mostly work for my husband. He might eat a little bit more in calories just because he is bigger. He's a guy, so that tends to be the general trend of things. For anything that's colder weather, or if you're going to have really bad weather, or if you're doing elevation change, longer trips, you're going to want to make sure you're packing more calories than this and having more of those flex snacks. Like I mentioned before, I pack the granola, the trail mix, as a flex snack. This is something where you can pack it, and then if you find yourself getting hungry during the day and you've eaten through all your snacks, you can break into your flex snack. This will just be one big bag for the trip, and you just eat through it as you need it. So that's just kind of how we do our packing for our trips and our meal plans and such for anything that we're going on new adventures for. So if you are a calorie counter and you really do care about that, I did kind of quickly mark it out between breakfast, lunch, snacks, and dinner, how many calories we would get per day. It does change a little bit depending on like flavors of certain things. Some of our stuff is a little bit more high calorie than others. Our breakfasts tend to run between 375 to 450 calories, depending on the day, and that is with us splitting the breakfast bowl in the morning. Lunches can range between 630, 640 calories, and this is also including the fact that some of these lunch items we might not eat and we might save as snack food for throughout the day. Snack food, we have another 570 to 580 calories, and our dinners tend to range between 420 and 560. So on the low end, if you take the smallest amount for each of the calories for each of the meals every day, it's going to be like 1,995 calories, and on the high end it's like 2,230 calories per day. And this has worked really well for me. I do tend to have a little bit left over, like I said. What is generally recommended is about 2,000 calories a day for women, and then 2,500 calories per day for men. And that's kind of assuming like basic levels of energy. You are going to burn a little bit more with hiking. For us, being that it's a 4-day trip, like I said, it's not really a big deal if we're a little bit high or a little bit low. We just don't want to be carrying a lot of extra weight. So I'm okay being a little bit on the lower end of that. We're still going to have enough energy to get us through. It's plenty of food. And we do have that flex snack that I didn't take into account for calories if we decide we need more. So yeah, that's how we do meal planning for trips, for these hiking trips. And be sure to give my account a like and a follow. On YouTube, make sure you give it a subscribe so you can come and see more things from my trip. You can see videos from our upcoming Lost Coast Trail trip, and stay tuned for more.